All right, I'm ready now. I'm ready now. Go for it. Sorry.
Hey, welcome to another. Nathaniel, what are you doing?
I'm trying to balance my light on top of the computer and it just didn't work.
Welcome to another episode of One World, Two Perspectives. Welcome, Nathaniel. How are you?
I'm all right, thanks, Christian. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Thank you very much. I think our last episode caused a little bit of a stir, in a good way.
Yeah, no, I think it was really good. I mean, it's interesting since then. You think over some of the things you talk about, and things happen in society that challenge you and shape you, and yeah, it's an interesting time we're living in. Obviously we were talking about racial issues last time, but it's interesting not just for things like that, just obviously the COVID situation that we're facing, financial situation that the world is entering into. These are crazy times, and I think there's a battle for identity, and there's a battle for purpose. There's a battle for, like, where do we go from here?
Sure.
It's interesting, even in my own life, like I kind of felt like this is a chance to reset a lot of things.
Sure.
Say, like, where do we go from here? Do we carry on in the same way? Do we change what we're doing? Do we move in a different direction? And it's kind of good in that way, but then also, like, there's a battle for, I guess, for society. There's a battle for, like, directing where people go, what they believe and stuff. So yeah. Interesting season.
It's very interesting. I think, and I think with the time that we're living in, of course, it brings in a lot of complexities. It brings in different factors that we have to look into. And I think in these times of uncertainties, where a lot of things are shaken, I think people more than ever need something to hang on to. They need something that they can anchor their soul to when everything else seems shaken, seems unstable, seems unreliable. What is it that we can hold on to? And I think, today, perhaps I think one of the important thing that we maybe can discuss is truth. Yeah. What is truth? What is truth? Why is truth important? How do we find truth? Because we live in a society at the moment of, I think, absolute relativism. So basically, truth is relative to who the person is. And I think it's important for us, and maybe perhaps who we are in society. One of the reasons why this is my belief, that the reason why we are where in society, because there is so many definitions and so many, forms and kinds of truth. And I think in that confusion, we have gotten ourselves into a muddle, and we don't know how to get ourselves out of it. So I think it's important in our day right now to really discuss what is truth. You hear a lot of people say, "Oh, this is my truth. This is my truth." But is truth something that is discovered, or is it given? So I think it's important for us to be able to discuss that this today. So what is truth exactly? What can we define truth as?
Yeah,
in its purest form.
It's a good question. So I guess truth is something that is unmovable. It's something that can't be disputed. It's something that you can understand and you can grasp hold of. But it's not something that I can manipulate, or I can make it bend to my will or to my understanding. Mm-hmm. And that's and I think maybe that's coming to, like, the what you're talking about right now, because
sure.
what's been really interesting for me, like, I have a love-hate relationship with social media, so sometimes I'm like, I love Facebook and I'm on it, and other times I'm just like, I can't stand this. This is everyone's shouting, everyone's screaming, everyone's got an opinion, and what I found, I don't know why, it's really weird, but in this season, somehow American news and American, like, vloggers or whatever have taken over my, the video thing on Facebook. You go in the middle button and it's all the videos, and you scroll through and it's like, and mate, everything I've got is so extreme. Like, it's just like, it's like right-wing media, left-wing media, and they're all kind of like, these people are totally wrong because of, and they shout their point of view, whatever.
Sure.
And you know, you listen to both sides.
Yeah.
And particularly in America, because obviously they're coming up to their election and it's crazy out there anyway, you know, like, but like they shout their sides, and there's certain things you listen to and you're like, yeah, that makes sense. But then they'll go on to something and you're just like, that's crazy. Like, and the same from the other point of view. Yeah. And it's like, where are the people who will stand and say, actually, that's good and that's right and that's true, and that's good and that's right and that's true, and I don't have to be like, I don't have to say I'm 100% here and I'm 100% there, like, and I think for us, obviously, like this thing is, you know, we're doing it as Christians. You're a Christian, I'm a Christian, and we're coming from a Christian point of view, and that's going to come across. But we want this to be relevant to people who maybe aren't Christians as well, you know. So, like, how do we walk this road where actually I want truth, not just an echo chamber that agrees with my opinion?
Sure.
That's the challenge, isn't it?
I think that's absolutely the challenge. I think, but one key thing I think about truth, that I think why perhaps, you know, why we need truth in our time, is because I think truth brings in balance.
Yeah.
Truth brings a balance. Truth is not extreme. Truth is truthful. It tells you what it is and how things are, but it gives you, it's something that is balanced. And I think one of the key things that maybe I think that we may be lacking in our time is this key thing of balance. You know, is either we are extreme on one end regarding an opinion, we are extreme on the other end about something, but then I think a lot of people have lost that we call balance. And that's very dangerous, because when you get into balance and you get into extreme, you know, you begin to discount things that you really should also be paying attention to on the other side.
Yeah.
Because I believe there is a true, I would say there is good to be gained from two sides of arguments. Yeah. But I believe where truth comes in, truth shine a light on both of the sides and saying, you know what, this is the foundation. And I almost feel like, you know, what we are lacking in our day right now is this presence of truth that unites and say, you know what, this is it. These are the problems. We don't deny that, but this is the truth. And I think that's very important in our time. I think, you know what, that is why I think, you know what, finding what truth is. And first of all, you know what is truth? Like in its most practical thing, what is truth in our day? You know, what can we define for a normal person, you know, a normal person? What does truth mean? You know?
Yeah. But, and mate, I don't even know if we can fully answer that question, because that's a massive, you know, massive thing. What is truth? You know, like, what is it? How do we define it? Like, but because actually, because you could say, well, truth is facts. You know, truth is where the facts are. But, you know, you can have all the facts about something, but still not actually understand it at all, you know, because facts in themselves don't give you the full story. You know, what led to that situation being the way it is, you know. So, and I guess, I guess, like, really, like, for mankind, our goal in life is to discover what truth is to work out, like, what is this all about? Like, you know, why am I here? Like, so not just truth in the sense of like, is this true or is this a lie, but just kind of the truth of existence, the truth of my life, or like what is the purpose? What is the point in all of this? I mean, we'll come to, you know, to our own opinion on how we define that, you know, in a moment. But one of the things for me that is quite interesting is sometimes you talk to people and they'll say, well, that's your truth, or that's, you know, where you come from, but I have a different truth. And it's like, well, how does that work? Like, how can we believe opposite things and they both be true? They can't, you know, like, either something is this or it isn't. And I always feel like, you know, in life, if we don't have an underlying truth as a foundation to build upon, then we're building upon thin air. Sure. You know, so it's quite interesting. So, you know, in society, we will say, like, this is wrong, right? This is a bad thing. And says, well, who says it's a bad thing? Well, the person who thinks it's a bad thing says it's a bad thing, therefore it's a bad thing. But what if everybody else disagrees? Does truth change? There's what's a, you know, so, and actually we see that, like we've seen that down the ages, you know, certain things that at one point, you know, were considered terrible, or at one point were considered perfectly acceptable. And now here we are, we've gone down the road of history and we've reversed those completely. So things that, you know, some years back would have been considered as terrible, awful things are now considered as perfectly normal and acceptable. And
Sure.
things that were, you know, perfectly normal and acceptable are now kind of like, oh, how could you do that? That's terrible. That's awful. That's wicked, you know? And so it's like, well, like, why? Because society says so? Because the majority of people think so? Does that make something true? Because the majority, that doesn't make something true just because the majority of us believe it.
I think this is, but this is exactly, I think, the danger that, you know, we find in this time, because it feels like the more and more we evolve as human beings, we are moving away from those basic foundations, on those basic human foundations, and I would say even principles that make up what it means to be, you know, a respectable person. You know, those basic foundations that make up being a citizen of planet Earth, I would say. You know, so almost like, you know, because we've evolved so much with all these different things, technology has evolved, you know, medicine has evolved, we have, you know, new discoveries, and almost we feel like we have gotten to this place where we feel like those basic foundations have become redundant. And this is the danger, because check this out. I don't remember it, so I don't know whether there will ever come a day where water will become redundant. I don't know whether there will ever come a day where oxygen will become redundant. I don't know a day where the law of lift will become redundant. You see, there are things in life that were here before we got here and will remain here way after we go. So I think the challenging thing about life is really finding out those things that I would say that are what eternal, those things that are built upon, you know, not society, not the how can I put this, the trends of the age, or these things, you know, the popularity, you know, oh, this is the in thing now, this is the in thing now, but really finding out those things that are foundational and saying, you know what, if society goes up and down, society changes, society redefines this, because we're almost living in an age of what we call the age of redefinition. We are redefining everything. We are questioning everything. Well, why is this so? You know, why is that so? And it's okay to question. But if we question, if our questioning leads us to the truth, then that's okay. But if our questioning leads us further away from the truth, then I think we are in trouble. I'd like to say this. Well, this is one of my favorite quotes. I came up with this years ago. I say, you know what? Human beings, you know what? It's only a matter of time that we self-destruct. When we leave human beings, or we allow human beings to fend off and to define what truth is, it's only a matter of time before we self-destruct. Because why? We will always subscribe to things that agree with who we are as people. You hear what I'm saying? And that's the danger. And I think that's everyone, whether they are a Christian or non-Christian. And this is where we need a truth that is unbiased, a truth that is central. You know, that we didn't almost discover this truth. You know, almost I came up with this truth. This is my truth. No. It's a truth that was here before I got here. And my responsibility as a citizen of planet Earth is to find out that truth and subscribe and live by it. I think that's really the key.
Yeah, I like that, Christian. So basically what you're saying is we can observe physical truths,
right?
Like the physical matter of the earth, we can identify it, and we can, you know, someone could say, oh, you know, I don't need water, I can live without water, but they're gonna die. So it's like the truth is you need water, like you need water to live, you need that for your body to survive. So that's an ultimate truth. But what we've done is we've sort of said, okay, things that you are physical, that you can define in a physical science, if you like, yes, okay, we'll accept those as truth. But anything that is social, or anything that is emotional, anything that is spiritual, is up in the air, and it's like no one can say this is truth. But actually, if that's the case, then, you know, we could, you might believe that, there is no ultimate spiritual or truth beyond what is physical and tangible.
Sure.
But
That doesn't, it doesn't
You've got
deny,
no
it
grounds
doesn't.
to hold that. You've got no truth to build that upon.
Nathaniel, this is the thing about it. You know, truth precedes time. You know, but truth came before time.
Right.
Okay. As a matter of fact, let me even go deep. As a Christian, I can say this, and I'll say this confidently. Truth is first a person before it is a principle.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Truth is first a person before it is a principle.
Okay.
Now, we are subscribing to a principle of truth without knowing the person. And a lot of people are subscribing to the principle of truth without knowing the source of that truth. You hear what I'm saying?
Yeah.
As believers and as Christians, we believe that the Bible says that Jesus Christ is the truth, the way, the life, and what?
The truth.
And the truth.
Yeah.
He is truth personified.
Mm.
So what makes something truth is the character of the person from which the truth proceeds.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So for example, if my character was one of a crook, if I was a wicked person, everything that I say to you, everything that I do proceeds out of a heart of a crook and out of a wicked person. So basically, anything that I tell you, you cannot take that as truth. Why? Because my character is one of a wicked and crooked person.
Yeah.
You hear what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And therefore, this is in order for us to define truth, we have to move beyond the natural principle of truth and go back to the person of truth. Who is truth?
But that opens up a question. Basically, you have to take one of two worldviews. You either have to take a worldview of like, okay, let's lay aside the physical elements of the world. So like, you know, like we've talked about water and things like that, lay that aside. If we're just talking about right and wrong as a truth or whatever, like you have to take one of two positions. You either have to take a position that there is ultimate truth, that there is ultimate purity and evil, or you have to take a position that none of that exists and it's all just relative and we decide it based on how we feel at any particular time in history. So the common attitude is what defines the truth for our age, but in 10 years time, 20 years time, 100 years time, it could be totally different again. And some people do prescribe to that worldview, but it's what you're saying is quite interesting because maybe some people who listening to this have never thought about that before. Like basically you fall into one of those camps. Either there is truth or there isn't. Like, there's not like an in between. And I guess, I mean, C.S. Lewis, like when he talked about Jesus, he said, you know, either Jesus was God or he was crazy. Like, there's no middle ground. And a lot of people are like, oh, no, we respect Jesus. We like Jesus. He's a great guy. He brought good teaching, but, you know, he's not God. He's not like, but actually, you know, the narratives that are told about Jesus, he told the world, you know, that he is God. Like he revealed himself as the.
That's the thing with Jesus. Jesus was very extreme. I mean, to be honest with you, some of the statement that Jesus came out with, I mean, you need a certain level of boldness to be able to come out with that. I am the way.
Yeah.
In the midst of an age that basically, I think, you know what, they had all these different gods and all these different, he said, you know what, I am the way. And he said it with such boldness and confidence that, you know what, people had to believe him.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's just looking at the natural Jesus. That's, you know, without the spiritual part of the fact that he is, you know, the Son of God, we believe. But the fact that he even came out with that, there must have been something back in him. There must have been that confidence that Jesus had was not human.
So it was not human. This opens an interesting question for us. So you and I are both Christians. You know, we've both made that commitment to follow Christ, to make him our Lord. Like, it's not just about, you know, following a Christian faith. It's like, no, Jesus is he's my Messiah, he's my Lord, he's my God, I follow him. You know, what he says comes first in my life before anything else. Because what's quite interesting, like some people might say, you know, Christianity, that's all fine, that's all good, but Christians, you have to be willing to move with society and make the changes that society are asking you to make. But if we say Jesus is the truth, then anything that yes, the church can adapt on some things. We can change on some things. Of course we can. But what we can't move on is whatever Jesus says. Whatever Jesus has said about himself is not negotiable. Like, so for us, for you and me, as Christians, and maybe this would be interesting for people who aren't Christians to try and understand why Christians can be so stubborn and unmovable sometimes in their positions, or some Christians can, is because we have actually put Jesus in the position of truth. You know, so actually what it is, I mean, Jesus turned to Peter and he turned to the disciples and said, who do you say that I am? And Peter said, you are the Messiah. You know, you're the one that was promised to come, you know, the one who's going to redeem us from our sins, who's going to bring us back into relationship with God. And Jesus said, he said, upon this rock, I will build my church. And what's the rock? Some people said Peter was the rock, but Peter is not so much Peter as a person, it's the words that he spoke. Upon this confession, upon this understanding, this is what I will build. It's revelation. It's revelation. Yeah. Upon this revelation, I will build my church. So the church is built upon this understanding that Jesus is the Messiah. Jesus is God. So those things for us as Christians are non-negotiables. They are our truth.
Absolutely.
You know, so we were saying, what is truth? Truth is something that is non-negotiable. Like, it doesn't mean we can't argue about it. It doesn't mean we can't discuss it. It doesn't mean we can't have different perspectives on it. Of course we can. We need to refine our thinking. But truth is something that is immovable. Like it, and I think for me, actually, in my life, this gives me grounding. Like, this gives me, like, I know who I am. And I know the parameters of my life because I know the ultimate truth. Like, without, and it's interesting. I mean, obviously, my faith is everything to me, and I obviously, for other people, that's not the case, and I respect them. But for me, it's like, I don't know how you live a life. I don't know how you exist without having a foundation. Sure. Like, because if your persuasion or your worldview or whatever is suddenly like pulled apart, what happens if, like, let's say now, like, let's say the coronavirus financial crisis, is come in, like, you lose your job, you lose your loved ones, like, your world is torn apart. Like, what do you fall on? Like, for you and me, it's like, well, we're on Christ. Like, that's never going to fall apart. He's never going to move. He's never going to change. That's our foundation. Sorry, Christian.
But I think, you know, this is important. I think this is just, having said that, just a thought came to my mind, is truth a truth that is progressive is not really a truth. There's no such thing as a progressive truth. Well, you know, as we evolve, we you know, the truth evolves. No. Truth does not evolve. No, you know, as I said, you know what? Truth is truth. Take it or leave it.
Yeah. It doesn't move.
That's extreme.
But is it fair to say that our understanding of the truth evolves?
That's different. Okay. Our understanding of the truth, but what I'm saying, the basic foundations of truth does not change. Yeah. It doesn't change. Yeah. You know, the substance of water or the makeup of water will never change. Not in 1,000 years, not in 1,000,000 years, because water is water. Now, yes, water can be infected by other substance. You know, you can get clear water and put a dye on it, it changes color. You can get a water and squeeze a lemon on it, it changes the flavor. You can get water and put, you know, whatever it is, it changes, it becomes other things. But the basic foundation or the core foundation of water will remain water until forever. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And this is how truth is. So for me, I really believe, you know, and in this time where there is so much shaking, so much uncertainties, we need more than ever to discover the truth, not a truth, the truth. You know, because of course, everything else that we build our life on, I'm talking about in terms of general society, you know, everything else that we've built our life on seems to be shaking. If it's been our career all of a sudden is like, man, like, what's happening? Because the job market is not doing too good. You know, we build our life on I don't know, on maybe our fame, our income, and this and that, and living my best life and living my fine self, you know, whatever you want to call it, you know. But when those things are shaken, what do you revert to? Yeah. You know, and I think this is very important. I think it's so important. I think this is why, as believers and as Christians, more than ever, we need to dig in deeper to the truth and drill down into the truth and get a hook on the truth, because the shaking that we're seeing, we'll see more of it, more and more of it. Coming, you know, and